145%. Now to the latest on the global trade war. China retaliating again overnight. The stock market wiping out many of the week's earlier gains yesterday, with the total U.S. tariff on Chinese goods now 145%. We'll have the latest from the White House in just a minute, but first we go to Whit Johnson on Wall Street. Good morning, Whit.
Hey, Rebecca, good morning to you. The head-spinning week continues here on Wall Street. U.S. futures fluctuating once again as China delivers the latest salvo in this escalating trade fight, announcing those 125% tariffs on U.S. goods to take effect tomorrow. Now, this follows the clarification that the White House put out yesterday, raising total tariffs on China to 145%. That was just one of the factors that sent the markets plunging again on Thursday, the Dow closing down more than 1,000 points. Despite the historic so-called relief rally the day before, the S&P has now lost nearly $3.5 trillion over the last 6 days. That's where millions of Americans have their 401ks and retirement accounts. Investors are trying to come to grips with a new sobering reality. The trade war with China appears to be getting worse, and some tariffs are here to stay. Overall, American consumers face an average effective tariff rate of 27% on imported U.S. goods. That's the highest since 1903. Most analysts predict that translates to higher prices for everyday items, from groceries to electronics to cars. The market's bracing for another volatile day here with so much uncertainty and no clarity about what happens next. George.
Okay, Whit, thanks very much. I want to go to the White House now. Of course, this trade war with China shows no sign of ending yet. Senior political correspondent Rachel Scott tracking the latest at the White House. Good morning, Rachel.
George, good morning to you. Yes, there is no sign that either country is backing down. In fact, China only striking back, announcing it will impose a 125% tariff on American goods.
Overnight, the trade war between the U.S. and China escalating as Beijing raises its tariffs on American goods to 125%, set to take effect tomorrow. Chinese President Xi Jinping saying there are no winners in a tariff war and warning going against the world will only result in self-isolation. President Trump acknowledging the headwinds, calling it a transition cost.
There'll always be transition difficulty.
The market rebounded after the announcement of his 90-day pause, but that was short-lived. Much of the gains wiped out as investors sold off after the rally. As a new estimate from the Yale Budget Lab says the new tariff system will cost households an average of $4,700 annually. The president insisting it will be worth it.
Again, there'll be a transition cost and transition problems, but in the end, it's going to be a beautiful thing.
With a staggering 145% tariff on Chinese goods, economists warn things could go from bad to worse if a deal isn't made. Take the iPhone 16 Pro Max, which currently has a retail price of $1,199. UBS analysts say that could jump up by $800, since most iPhones are assembled in China. Rita Panera's owns Child's Play toy shop in Washington and says the president's tariffs will force her to raise prices.
We've already had some manufacturers increase prices on us. So yesterday we saw a surcharge, as it said specifically that it was a tariff surcharge of 15% on an invoice. So we weren't notified ahead of time.
The tariffs China has placed on American goods in retaliation could also hurt American farmers, including in battleground states like Wisconsin that President Trump carried.
China's a big player in our market. It's up to 50%, sometimes over 50% of our soybeans from the nation goes to China, not necessarily just our soybeans.
The president has put a 90-day pause on sweeping tariffs against 85 other countries. ABC's Karen Travers asking him what happens when that time is up.
Will you put those higher tariffs in place, or will you extend the pause?
That's what would happen. I mean, if we can't make the deal that we want to make, or we have to make, or that's good for both parties, it's got to be good for both parties.
China retaliating with that 125% tariff, but this morning they say they will not be going any higher, saying there's no point in engaging in this tit for tat. Still, they're looking to take advantage of the fact that the United States is negotiating with other countries during this time, hoping to deepen their relationships with the European Union. Gio.
The situation.
This is Isaiah 19:4. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts. First and foremost, before I get started, I want to thank Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakakadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS who teach and rule well, who taught me this truth. Salutation, you brothers and sisters that are out there listening and learning, fighting this good fight of faith. And salutation, my fellow brethren that are pushing this word in all truth and sincerity. To you all, I want to say shalom. So, Trump is really going to put a lot of hell on you Babylonians, man. You Americans, you Egyptians, man. The America is known as spiritual Sodom and Egypt and Babylon in the Bible, man. And all these tariffs and these different moves that Trump is making, saying that he's doing it for the greater good or to make America great, is actually hurting the citizens of America, man. And it's beautiful because all you proud ass, devils, you Edomites, you're seeing that your choice, and you jakes that chose to follow that damn devil Trump, you're seeing that it was two wings of the same filthy ass bird, man. Whether you voted for Kamala or fucking Trump, it didn't matter, because they both work for the same people. So let's read a little bit of this. I'll get a couple scriptures and that'll be the lesson. So this is from Time Magazine. And it reads, April 9th, this is from April 9th, 2025, the hopeful year of the deliverance to the elected nation of Israel, and the hopeful year of destruction and judgment to Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, as coined by the beloved Apostle Tahar. And it reads, how Trump's tariffs could lead to a global recession. So it says, economists have warned that U.S. President DJ Trump's trade war, which kicked into its highest gear yet on Wednesday, is likely to hurt Americans more than it will any other country. Taxing all imports will lead to greater costs for U.S. businesses, which will then raise prices for U.S. consumers and may well bring the U.S. into a recession, a sustained economic decline. It will be difficult for the U.S. to avoid a recession if the tariffs stay at the level that's been announced, Claudia Sham, chief economist at New Century Advisors, recently told Time. Let's get that scripture real quick, because all of this is prophetic, man. So I guess let's do this. There we go. So this is Ecclesiastes 12:3. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, right? Keepers of the house go into the economists, right? When you look up the word, let's look it up real quick. So when you look up the word economy in the etymology, and etymology goes into the study of the root of a word. It goes into economy from the 1530s, house management, from Latin economia, Spanish economia, from Greek oikonomia, household management. And that's pretty much the point. So like it for the background noise. It says manager, steward, right? So the keepers of the house, right? That's what the economists go into, right? Household management. They manage the funds, and they report on the funds, dealing with an economy. So it says Ecclesiastes 12:3, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few. So at the same time that all these prices are going up because of Trump and all this tariff war that he's engaging in with these other countries, people are being laid off at an astronomical rate. You have Elon Musk, unelected official, in the U.S. government, in the part of the Doge Department of Government Efficiency, laying off massive amounts of government workers, man. As we speak, So there's more and more layoffs. There's more and more people that don't have jobs. There's more and more people that are looking for jobs, but they can't find them. Right? Going into the grinder ceasing, the jobs are ceasing because they are few and those that look out the windows be darkened, right? Representing looking out the window, looking at for a future, and people are saying that there's no future here because there is no future here. Babylon is through, man. So it says, let me get right to the point. I don't want to make this too long. Where is it at? Thought I had a headline. I mean, this is a good article. Let me see. That was a point that I wanted to get. Let me see. If Slovakia. Yeah, let's just continue on a little bit. He says the biggest loser of this is definitely the U.S. itself, says Juan May, assistant professor in the School of Economics at Singapore Management University. But that doesn't mean there won't be a range of knock-on effects that will ripple across the world. In the last week, J.P. Morgan raised its forecast of the global economy entering a recession by the end of, by year end from 40% to 60%. While Trump's stated goal for his so-called reciprocal tariffs is to increase U.S. manufacturing, the actual effect may be a dampening of global demand and production in both the U.S. and around the world, says Jalen Chong, an associate professor of political science at the National University of Singapore. It says, to be sure, U.S. manufacturers and importers will be the first to feel the effects, according to Christina Fong, an economist affairs researcher at Singapore-based think tank ISEAS, Yusof Ishaq Institute's ASEAN Studies Center. If American importers choose to absorb the cost of the tariffs, their profitability decreases. Fong says that could lead to changes in businesses' cost structure, such as downsizing operations and laying off workers. So this is all dismantling America, man. You know, it's all gonna fall on the Babylonians, man. Let's this is a good read. You know, brings up a lot of good points, but I wanted to make this short and sweet. Babylon is circling the drain, man. This shit is through, man. And its citizens as well. This is Isaiah 24:7. It says, the new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh, right? So the American citizens that were whistling Dixie up and down the street, that wasn't worried about nothing, not too long ago, they're starting to feel the pinch, man. The mirth of tabrets ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth. They shall not drink wine with a song, right? So most people, always going to the club, always going out to eat and stuff like that, enjoying themselves, going on vacation all the time. That's not happening like that anymore, man. There was an article I seen not that long ago. It says more than half of Americans are skipping meals, man. Living paycheck to paycheck, man. Middle class included. So this is, it's not looking too good for you Babylonians, man. Isaiah 24:9. Slovakia. Isaiah 24:9. Hold on, Slovakia. Isaiah 24:9. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. Right? So they're going to be trying to drink away their sorrow, man. They're not going to be rejoicing. What is there to rejoice about in Babylon, man? Unless you're one of the hopeful elect. We'll be drinking wine with a song, It says the city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up. that no man may come in, right? So that's what's coming down, coming down the pipe, man. Let's get this last one and I'll close it out. These dogs out here whining. And this is what's coming, man. As the scriptures say, the Lord said that he's going to bring famines, pestilences, and all out destruction, to the world, man, to Babylon the Great in particular, man. This is Revelation 6:6 in the Amplified Bible version. And it says, "And I heard something like a voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, a quart of wheat for a denarius," right, a day's wage, "and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, a day's wage, and do not damage the oil and the wine." So people are going to be working for a loaf of bread, and it's going to cost a day's wage. The way that these tariffs are for in modern day, basically bread, food for groceries or dinner for the night, so to speak. The prices are going to be so high that basically your day's wage will barely cover food, for the day. You barely could buy lunch during your day. It's going to be that expensive, man. And we could already see how, the ripple effects are already playing out, right before us, man. So it's gonna be really bad out here, man. And like it says in Second Ezra, the 15th chapter, it talks about men's spoiling each other's goods for the lack of bread, famines and cannibalism. All that is coming very soon, man, because people will not be able to afford to have the basic necessities, of life, man, because this devil is putting a squeeze on everything in order to push towards their NWO, man, and that's why it's important to stay prayed up, to stay locked in on the spirit, because these devils are coming down with great wrath, because they know that they have but a short time, man. So continue to watch, continue to be circumspect, continue to stay prayed up, continue to ask Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi to have mercy on us and our families in these troubling times that are on the horizon, man, because the words of the Lord are indeed faithful and true. They will not come back void, man, So whatever the Lord said is going to happen is going to happen, and it's already, we're seeing, the watchmen are seeing the chess pieces being put into place, man, to make these moves, man. DJ Trump is a perfect pawn to bring forth the destruction of Babylon, man, and its inhabitants, man. But our hope is in Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, that we will be delivered from these said calamities, man. So I hope and pray this lesson was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to thank Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi once again for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson, and I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi Bahasham Rakadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS who teach and rule well, who taught us the truth. Salutations, brothers and sisters that are out there listening and learning, fighting this good fight of faith. Keep fighting, keep striving, keep pushing. We're almost out of here. And salutations, my fellow brethren that are pushing this word in all truth and sincerity. To you all, I want to say shalom. I want to say ababa ball and kwam yasharala. Hey, shalom. Till the next one.